Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, and welcome to all the devotees online. Thank you very much for your kind association. As we associate with the Srimad Bhagavatam, today we are continuing Canto 1, Chapter 17, verses 1 to 16, Punishment and Reward of Kali. We heard about Dharma, Dharma the bull and mother cow, and the challenges and pain that they were experiencing due to the influence of Kali, but at the same time, really Mother Earth was saying because of Krishna leaving, she was experiencing great separation. So now we're going to read about how Maharaj Parikshit deals with the situation, because this is now in his kingdom. Let us cover the invocation. Om Jnanatimi Vandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajiva Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Behevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sarva Shastra Puyusha Sarva Vedeka Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokai Triprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavato Prabhu Kalidwando Didaritya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures, O most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas, O you are enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions, O you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O light breath of the Vaishnava devotees. O Lord, you are the sun which has risen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna who has returned amongst us. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varsha Shirayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisance unto you. By reading one attains transcendental bliss, for your syllables rain pure love of God upon the reader. You are always to be served by everyone, for you are incarnation, Lord Krishna. Madekabandhu Mad Sangim Mad Guru Mad Mahadana Man Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya Madanda Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, O my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer respectful obeisance unto you. Asadu Sadhu Tatahina Tinnicha Chataraka Anamuncha Kada Chinmam Premna Hritkatayospura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, who give us saintliness to the unsaintly, who uplift the very fallen. Please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest in Mahatma throat, accompany pure love of Krishna. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya Yatonvayaditarata Charte Swabhigna Swarat Tene Brahma Hidayadi Kavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatrati Sargam Mrisha Damna Swena Sadani Rastakuakam Satyam Param Dhimai. O my Lord Shri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he's the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, destruction of the manifested universes. He's directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he's independent because there's no other cause beyond him. It is only he who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion as one is bewildered by illusory representation of water seen in fire, land unseen on water. Only because of him do the material universe is temporarily manifested by the reaction of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent, transcendental abode, which is forever free from illusory representation of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Pranal Paisha Sabya Kalavasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagyo Padrita. All in that one in this age of Kali, many but short lives, the quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Narayan namaskrityam narachevam narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan, the most human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Savaipum sabaro dharmo yato bhaktiradochaje ahituka apratihata yayatma suprasiddhati. Supreme occupation, dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatu Seva Ragyam Jnanam Chayadahaitakam. By rendering devotional service under the personality of God as Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Vedanti tatta vidastatvam yaj gnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan. Shru Shru Shoshadanasya Vasudeva Kata Ruchi Syan Mahatsavaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevana. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Shranvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hiridyantastoya Badrani Vidunati Sukitatam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, supersoul in everyone's heart, and a benefactor, the truthful devotee cleanses desire from material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues and properly heard and chanted. Nastaprayashu Badreshu Nitam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki. By regular tenets in the classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personal Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are continuing Srimad Bhagavatam based on the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of International Society, Krishna Consciousness. Hare Krishna, and welcome. Let us cover any feedback you have from Canto 1, Chapter 16, verses 25 to 36. Anything from that section that caught your attention, that you found interesting, that you thought of remembering, please share that in the chat. Sharina says, Haribol, please accept my obeisance appreciation. You are happy to the proportionate extent you uphold dharmic principles. Yes, very important sutra to achieve anything, especially happiness. In this world, Krishna does not deprive the living entity from achieving success, spiritual success, and happiness. But there's a process, and that process of Dharma, following principles of Dharma, is very, very important. The codes of conduct. Manu Samhita describes so many different do's and don'ts. These are code of conducts. As human beings, and this is what distinguishes human beings from animals. Animals don't have dharma. Animals don't have a code of conduct. You know, they can do whatever they want, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. By nature's law, they will do whatever they need to do. You can't tell the dog, don't do that on the tree. Nope, that's a dog's nature. But human beings, if they do that on the tree, and this is uncultured, this is not dharmic. So Manu Samhita gives a whole range of do's and don'ts. If you are a human being, this is how you need to behave. And it also covers the different varnas and ashrams. A Kshatriya is meant to, behave in this way, do these things, etc. So if we really want to be happy, then we have to understand the principles of Dharma and uphold them. Now, it's vast. And not only is it vast, but remember, it's a culture. And we're going to see in today's purports also, Srila Prabhupada is addressing a certain culture, a certain way of life. And if you follow that way of life, you have happiness and prosperity. If you deviate from that way of life, then there's the converse. And there are so many principles that if we are not brought up in that environment and culture, we will not be able to address all of them. So Prabhupada, in his purports, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving us the essential principles that we need to follow. Shamananda Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, is it fair to say that even though the different scriptures have recommendations, allowances for meat eating, we know that in this age of Kali, none of these can be carried out 100% currently and going forward. Same goes with any other ritual sacrifice. Everything is tainted and degraded. The practitioners are probably causing more offenses, transgressing knowingly, unknowingly, and the persons leading them are unqualified, unfit. The only way is by chanting the holy names. Yes. So the example you gave of the concession of eating meat, we see in the Bible, there are in the Quran, there are specific instructions of how to make that meat halal. In the Vedas, in offering to Mother Kali, there is a certain required, recommended ritual. And yes, you are correct. They do not follow that as it is. And again, it is the nature of those who want shortcuts, those who are really, they're not sincere. The aspect of sincerity is not there. Because if you are sincere, Prabhupada said the definition of sincerity is you follow the big and the small rules. That dictates, that informs us that you are sincere. So if somebody is really sincere, they have this desire to eat meat. And they do not want to displease the Supreme. They then go to the scripture to inquire, and scripture says, do it like this. They will want to do it as it is because of sincerity. So the priests need to be sincere. The followers need to be sincere for the result to be sincere. Otherwise, yeah, they will get reaction, no doubt. And we find that in Kali Yuga, it's practically impossible. Well, it's, yes, impossible and very difficult to get a qualified practitioner and priest who knows these principles and who's following himself very, very strictly and is able to guide and elevate, because that's the whole idea. By following these tenets, one is elevated. So Srijit Mahaprabhu has come and correct. The only way really for our redemption to be freed is by chanting the holy name of Krishna. Okay, Mother Hemavati Radhika says, Mother Earth gives 40 qualities of Krishna. Hearing this makes us want to hear more and get to know Krishna better, makes Krishna more attractive and lovable, inspires us to want to develop our relationship with Krishna more and more, makes us want to not have to do devotional service to get closer, makes us want to have to do devotional service to get closer to Krishna. Nalini Kanta says, doubt is the enemy. We must be completely convinced in Krishna consciousness. Yes. So Mother Earth, and we find again in the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam is guiding us and inspiring us more and more to become attached to Krishna. So the more we hear, the more we are going to be attracted to Krishna. And I wanted to bring this aspect because here Mother Earth was giving the qualities of Krishna, the direct qualities of Krishna. Whereas in other contexts, in other sections of the Bhagavatam, we go into here like today's verses. Today's verses, Prabhupada is really going to speak about, the leaders, kings, those who are guiding, and we may not really be in that position. So someone may, read this specific section that we're going to cover, even though it's connected to the symptoms of Kali Yuga, but it's related to the leaders. And we may say, well, I'm not a leader, so this section is irrelevant. But no, the beauty of every verse of the Bhagavatam, it's described even every word of the Bhagavatam, is that it is infused with pure devotion to Krishna. So even though the context and the pastime and the verse is related to something apparently not really relevant to you, it is perfectly relevant. And it is perfectly relevant because it is in relation to pure devotion. So when we cover these verses today, keep that in mind, that even though the verses are speaking about aspects that may not necessarily relate to us directly, as let's say a leader specifically, somebody who's a king, somebody who's a president of the country, etc. But the fact that it is the Bhagavatam, that means we can associate with that verse non-different from Krishna and still be fully benefited with pure devotion. And as Nalini Kanta Prabhu says, we want to become completely freed of all doubts. This contemplation, this exercise to contemplate about where are you, where you need to go, why you need to go in that direction is extremely important. Mother Lash says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, there were so many wonderful transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord. And when one contemplates on these qualities, then how can we not love such a personality? There is so much to endear us to him, and there is so much to fall in love with him. Yes, and that is what the Bhagavatam is trying to culture in our Krishna consciousness, to actually bring Krishna into our life, to allow us to become endeared to Krishna. And slowly but surely, now we may hear those qualities, and yes, it may touch us. We need to hear those qualities again, and it'll go deeper, and again, and deeper, and again, until all the impurities are removed. Because as we hear, it's purifying, it's inspiring, it's directing us to develop a desire more and more to get Krishna. So hand in hand, as we become more purified, then the impact both in our heart and our action, our attitude towards Krishna increases. We become more and more lovers of Krishna. So that is extremely important. That is what the Bhagavatam is there for. That is why Srila Prabhupada gave us so many scriptures, so many of the Bhakti Shastras, so that we can become lovers, we can increase, revive our devotion. And when we revive our devotion, automatically we will fall in love with Krishna. So we need to continue, never stop on this path. Even if we hear this section of the Bhagavatam and nothing happens. It's like I hear the qualities of Krishna and nothing happens. So we want to become attached to Krishna. I gave that example of moist, dry, wet grass, dry grass, moist grass, and dry grass. So we need to continue. And as we continue hearing more and more and more, our heart, which is like wet grass, will become moist grass. And we hear more and more and more and more, and our moist heart becomes dry. And then when we hear the Bhagavatam, then when we hear Krishna Katha, it will spark the fire of devotion. So that is what we are interested in. And it may take one lifetime, it may take 1,000 lifetimes, it may take 1,000,000 lifetimes. No matter how long it takes, the result and the gift of pure devotion cannot be compared to anything. So we should not be concerned about, yes, we want to revive it as soon as possible, but time is of no relevance. The relevance is I'm hearing, and I want to hear as attentively as possible. Thank you for everyone's feedback. Let us cover some power statements from the last section by Srila Prabhupada. Even if it were possible to count the atoms after smashing the earth into powder, still it would not be possible to estimate the unfathomable transcendental qualities of Krishna. So just this statement alone can inspire us about this amazing personality, Krishna. Everything about Krishna is lovable, is wonderful, because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. So such an amazing personality whose qualities are uncountable, unfathomable. So even though the Lord is equally well-wishing to everyone, the unfortunate living being, due to bad association only, is unable to accept his instructions in total. And for this, the Lord is never to be blamed. So if there's one element, one aspect that can derail us in spiritual life, that is association, bad association. Therefore, always be on alert, always be wary of bad association. Now you may say, well, I'm safe. I don't go to the pub. I don't go to the bar. I don't go to discos. I don't go to cinemas. I don't go to prostitute houses, brothels. I'm safe. But you may allow these elements to enter into your own home through social media. So we don't want to associate with these elements, bad association, in any form or shape. We want to try to avoid as far as possible, because bad association triggers the wrong desires. And when the wrong desires are triggered, are revived, Bhagavatam is trying to kindle our desires to engage in devotional service, our desires to get Krishna. Bad association does the converse. Kali's associates do the converse. So we want to always keep guard. In this world, there is the good and the bad. So we always want to keep guard. We can never blame the circumstances. We can never blame the environment. If there's blame, it's actually ourselves. It is I who allowed that circumstance to influence me. It is I who allowed that circumstance and my reaction to that circumstance to put me in a situation. So yes, the circumstances may prevail, the environment may be in the influence of Kali Yuga, but it is I who always have the choice how I respond, how I react, in what way I react. And the Bhagavatam is teaching us in every situation how to respond, how to react. And we're going to learn from this specific incident that we are discussing now in this part of the Bhagavatam, how to respond when we are inflicted with suffering. The principles that govern our response. It is a duty of the pure devotee to be fixed in the discharge of the duty entrusted to him by the Lord or the Lord's bona fide represented with the spiritual master. So when we recognize that I am a servant of Krishna, then the servant's duty is to serve. The Lord feels grateful to his devotees for such unsophisticated, unconditional service and tries to reciprocate it by rendering service to them. Although the devotees have no such desire in their hearts, rendering transcendental service to the Lord is itself a transcendental benefit for the devotee, and therefore the devotee has nothing to expect from the Lord. This is the consciousness we want to cover. When we're serving the Lord, that service itself is glory, is benefit. We don't need anything from the Lord. But the Lord, he is inspired by our attitude of service, unsophisticated and unconditional service. So someone can serve with sophistication, with complication, with motives, with an agenda, material agenda, for name, fame, adoration, control, power, money. Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, for these aspects. And that means there is always a motive, there's a condition attached to it. And that type of service, Krishna is not attracted to. One should therefore ask that the grace of the Lord always be present on earth, so that we may be favored by his causeless mercy and be happy, having all necessities of life in abundance. See, Krishna is not a God. Krishna is not the Supreme Lord who's there with a whip, torturing us. No, you left me? Okay, I'm going to, make your life hell. No. Okay, you left me? No problem. Here's the opportunity. Here's the way to still get my favor and to be happy and to have all the necessities of life in abundance. So Krishna never has a wrong agenda. Krishna never feels like to torture us, to threaten us. This doesn't exist in Krishna's personality. Krishna always, because of love, Krishna's always seeing with the eyes tainted with love for the living entities who are part and parcel of him. The only thing we must learn is to excavate the source of connection and thus be linked with him by offenseless service. We can be connected with him by the transcendental sound representation of the Lord. The holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical. And one who chants the holy name of the Lord in an offenseless manner can at once realize that the Lord is present before him. So as Shaman was saying, the holy name is really the only remedy for this age of Kali, for anyone in this age of Kali. But there is quality to that chanting. There is a method to that chanting. There's an art to that chanting. And what is that art? Offenseless. We have to chant with an offenseless manner. That means chanting with attention, chanting in association with Krishna. Chanting with a clear understanding that Krishna's name is not different from him. and this way associate. And by doing this and engaging in service, we excavate our connection. We revive. The connection is there. It's covered, buried. We need to excavate it, revive it. And this is what we're doing. This is our life's journey. This is our objective. So 17th chapter, punishment and reward of Kali. First 16 verses. Maharaj Parikshit, being an ideal king, appropriately chastises Kali. So verses 1 to 4, we're seeing the terrible condition of the cow and the bull being beaten by Sudra. Parikshit speaks in a deep voice. 5 and 6, Parikshit questions the daring of Kali. 7 and 8, Parikshit asks the bull about his identity. 9 and 11, Parikshit pacifies both the bull and the cow and assures them their safety. And 12 to 16, Parikshit asks the bull about the perpetrator. So Maharaj Parikshit is going to come on the scene, and he's going to see Kali, and he's going to see the bull. So picture this. There's Kali. He's beating the bull. And Maharaj Parikshit appears on the scene. He's seeing what's happening. Then he asks the bull, please tell me, who are you? And who has done this to you? So it's clear in terms of the perpetrator. In the next following verses, we're going to hear the discussion. So now the scene is getting set in terms of Maharaj Parikshit's chastising of Kali. Text 1. Sutau vacha tatra gomitunam raja anyamanam anathavat dandahastam chavrishalam dadrishe nripalanchanam. Sutta Goswami said, after reaching that place, Maharaj Parikshit observed that a lower caste Sudra, dressed like a king, was beating a cow and a bull with a club, as if they had no owner. Purport. The principal sign of the age of Kali is that lower caste Sudras, that is, men without Brahmanical culture and spiritual initiation, will be dressed like administrators or kings. And the principal business of such non-Kshatriya rulers will be to kill the innocent animals, especially the cows and the bulls, who shall be unprotected by their masters, the bona fide Vaishyas, the mercantile community. So Kali, dressed as a Sudra, Kali, who's a Sudra, dressed as a king, is beating the bull and the cow. Bhagavatam is telling us this sign, symptom of Kali Yuga is there. Why? Because the masters, the bona fide masters, and who the bona fide masters? The Vaishyas, mercantile community. Because the Vaishya's duty is to protect cows. And we see Krishna was born in a Vaishya family. And what did Krishna do? He tended the cows. He protected the cows and the bulls. So this culture has to be revived. So the blame really is on the masters. The masters are not protecting the cows and the bulls. The influence of Kali has come so that people that have no Brahmanical culture, no spiritual initiation, who have bad habits like Sudras, they are now presenting themselves as leaders. And what they will do, they will cause harm to innocent animals, especially the cows and the bulls. And we see this, unfortunately. This is the sad state of affairs of this world. In the Bhagavad Gita 1844, it is said that the Vaishyas are meant to deal in agriculture, cow protection, and trade. In the age of Kali, the degraded Vaishyas, the mercantile men, engage in supplying cows and bulls to the slaughterhouses instead of protecting them. The Kshatriyas are meant to protect the citizens of the state, whereas the Vaishyas are meant to protect the cows and the bulls and utilize them to produce milk and grains. The cow is meant to deliver milk and the bull is meant to produce grains. Thus, the cow and the bull are the mother and father of human beings. The mother and father must be given all protection and are not to be killed. But in the age of Kali, the Sudras, the Sudra class of men are in the post of administrators, and the cows and the bulls, or the mothers and fathers, unprotected by the Vaishyas, are subjected to the slaughterhouses organized by the Sudra administrators. So those who are followers of Sanatana Dharma have a very, very important duty. And that duty is to fight against the evil of slaughterhouses, of causing harm to innocent animals, especially the cow and the bull. Why? Because they are mother and fathers. I mentioned this story where a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, which is the most beautiful animal? And Prabhupada said the horse. And the devotee said, but Prabhupada, what about the cow? And Prabhupada said, you asked me which is the most beautiful animal. The cow is not animal. Cow is mother. So mother and father, mothers and fathers, cows and bulls. And Krishna was illustrating, was demonstrating how to take care of the mothers and fathers. And Prabhupada, there are many purports where Prabhupada is focusing on our mothers and fathers, the bulls and cows and bulls. So I also, as for those different sections, I'm going to share some glories of Gomata as we proceed. So we can learn more about our mothers and fathers. They're very unique, they're very special. We have many mothers and fathers, but these mothers and fathers are very, very unique, very special. And if you consider mother, she nurtures the child. And she will make sure, she will protect. A sincere, loving, affectionate mother will sacrifice practically a whole life in taking care of a child. The father will sacrifice so much in providing for their children, protection and providing for the children. Similarly, if we see Gomata, mother cow and father bull, if we see these two personalities, they do so much like mother and father. Not just like, for example, providing milk for a few years, provide milk for the whole lifetime. And not only this life, but even future lives. The cow is able to help and nourish and nurture, protect. So as we go through these glories, reflect on the protective, nurturing nature of mother cow and father bull. This is the only creature, only animal, only personality that inhales oxygen and also exhales oxygen. All India Institute of Medical Science, New Delhi, they did an experiment, 90 days, one cow was fed poison. Because they want to see if we feed poison to cows, what happens? And they gave poison to this one cow. The researchers did not find any trace of poison in the milk, blood, urine, or dung of that cow. The cow, the Gomata, hid the entire poison in the throat. Just like Lord Shiva, when he drank the halal poison, he kept it in the throat. So Mother Cow also, she kept this poison in the throat. Cow milk has the quality of countering poison. There are diseases that medical science has not yet understood. Urine of Gomata has the power to cure them. If cow ghee and rice are cooked together, two powerful gases called ethylene oxide and propylene oxide are released. Propylene oxide. Propylene oxide is the best gas used for creating artificial rain. Cow urine is the world's best killer of microbes. With medicines made using cow dung and cow urine, stomach-related ailments can be cured. We can save ourselves from radio waves by plastering the home floor and area outside home with cow dung. Cow dung has the power to destroy the microbes causing cholera. If 10 grams of cow ghee is put into fire, 1 ton of oxygen is generated. If 10 grams of cow ghee is put into fire, yagya, 1 ton of oxygen is generated. Cow urine is as sacred as Ganga Jal. So just like as a mother is protecting the child, giving medicine, making sure the child is healthy, Gomata, she's a pharmacist on her own, and she's able to provide and cure different diseases. Text 2. Brisham Mrinalam Davalanam Mehantam Iva Bibyatam Vepananam Padekena Sidantam Sudrataditam. The bull was as white as a white lotus flower. He was terrified of the Sudra who was beating him, and he was so afraid that he was standing on one leg, trembling and urinating. So very graphically, we are getting that description. Kali is beating with a club. Mother bull and the cow is there, and Maharaj Parikshit is witnessing this. The next symptom of the age of Kali is that the principles of religion, which were all spotlessly white, like the white lotus flower, will be attacked by the uncultured Sudra population of the age. They may be descendants of the Brahmana or Kshatriya forefathers, but in the age of Kali, for the want of sufficient education and culture of Vedic wisdom, such a Sudra-like population will defy the principles of religion, and persons who are religiously endowed will be terrified by such men. They will declare themselves as adherents of no religious principles, and many isms and cults will spring up in Kali Yuga only to kill the spotless bull of religion. The state will be declared as secular or without any particular principle of religion. And as a result, there will be total indifference to the principles of religion. The citizens will be free to act as they like, without respect for sadhu, shastra, and guru. That the bull was standing on one leg indicates that the principle of religion are gradually diminishing. Even the fragmental existence of religious principles will be embarrassed by so many obstacles, as if in the trembling condition of falling down at any time. So the influence of Kali Yuga is felt right at the onset of Kali Yuga. We have gone through 5,000 years of Kali Yuga. Therefore, we can see, if you look at the history over the 5,000 years, just look at, for example, in India, all the holy places that were attacked over generations. Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan, all the different areas that were impacted and attacked with people who are not interested in the Vedic culture. And those who are followers of Sanatana Dharma, those who are followers of Vedic culture, they're to protect themselves. And over time, this cycle continues. They are harmed, they are killed, and a new generation comes and they overpower them, and then they are overpowered, and then new set of devotees come and they overpower. In this way, the cycle continues. This is the nature. And we find in the current time also, this attack will keep continuing. It's just the nature of Kali Yuga and the people of Kali that are agents of Kali. They are working very, very hard to destroy the fiber of Krishna consciousness, the fiber of following principles of Dharma. And on the other hand, the devotees of the Lord, they also have to understand that just as those who are agents of Kali are convinced to break the fiber of Krishna consciousness, the devotees, their duty is to maintain and establish the principles of Dharma. Text 3. Gam cha dharma dugam dinam prisham sudram padahatam vivatsam ashru vadanam shamam yavasam ichatim. Although the cow is beneficial because one can draw religious principles from her, she was now rendered poor and calfless. Her legs were being beaten by a Sudra. There were tears in her eyes, and she was distressed and weak. She was hankering after some grass in the fields. Purport. The next symptom of the age of Kali is the distress condition of the cow. Milking the cow means drawing the principles of religion in a liquid form. How wonderful. Milking the cow means drawing the principles of religion in a liquid form. You can drink Krishna consciousness. Okay, you don't want to practice Krishna consciousness? No problem. We give you milk from a cow, from a protected cow, from a Vaishya who is looking after the cows like a mother, taking care of her in a Krishna conscious manner and milking that cow. That milk is liquid religion. And just by having that milk, we become Krishna conscious. The great rishis and the munis would live only on milk. Srila Sukadeva Goswami would go to a householder while he was the householder was milking a cow, and he would simply take a little quantity of it for subsistence. Even 50 years ago, no one would deprive a sadhu of a quart or two of milk, and every householder would give milk like water. It is a duty of every householder who is a Sanatanas, a follower of Vedic principles, to have cows and bulls as household paraphernalia, not only for drinking milk, but also for deriving religious principles. So instead of having dogs and cats and pets, birds, etc., Robert is encouraging us. We need to have cows and bulls. Those should be the pets. The Sanatanas worships cows on religious principles and respects Brahmanas. The cow's milk is required for the sacrificial fire. Just in terms of this point that Prabhupada was making, for the householders to have a cow and a bull. So the idea is to have, because nowadays in a townhouse complex, because you can't stay in a house, it's South Africa, it's dangerous. Now you move into a townhouse complex, but then in the townhouse complex, they have their own rules and regulations. So as devotees, we need to get our own townhouse complex where we got sufficient land for each of the houses that have their own cow and own bull that they look after. And then the cows and the bulls that are looked after by each family, they can now gather themselves for grazing either on their own property, land, or a grazing patch. And cows and bulls are roaming freely around instead of dogs and cats running around. We have cows and bulls around. And that becomes auspicious. That becomes auspicious. All right. So then Prabhupada continued. The cow's milk is required for the sacrificial fire. And by performing sacrifices, the householder can be happy. Not only is the cow with her calf beautiful to look at, but the calf also gives satisfaction to the cow. And so she happily delivers as much milk as possible. But in Kali Yuga, the calves are separated from the cows as early as possible for the purpose which may not be mentioned in these pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The cows stands with tears in her eyes, and the Sudra milkman draws milk from the cows artificially. And when there is no milk, the cow is sent to the slaughterhouse. The cow is sent to be slaughtered. These greatly sinful acts are responsible for all the troubles in present society. I will repeat that again. These greatly sinful acts are responsible for all the troubles in present society. People do not know what they are doing in the name of economic development. The influence of Kali will keep them in the darkness of ignorance. Despite all endeavors for peace and prosperity, the people will fail to achieve them unless they try to see that the cows and the bulls are happy in all respects. So Prabhupada is warning. There's a science to peace and happiness. If you do not look after the cows and the bulls, there is absolutely no question of happiness, of peace and prosperity. You cannot have peace and prosperity on one hand with cow killing on the other. As Prabhupada would say, they go ill together. Because cow and bull, they represent mother and father. If in a society, if the mother and father is killed, there is no culture, there is no happiness there. And the principles of Dharma, if those are destroyed, there is no question of peace. So foolish people do not know how one earns happiness by making cows and bulls happy, but it is a fact by the law of nature. See, so there's a foundation, there's a principle, there's a law that governs how to be happy in this world. And that's the responsibility and agenda of why, as devotees, we need to show by example. Where we live with cows and bulls as the center, living off grain, living off the farm, or living off the land. This is the example that Prabhupada wanted to show, the Varnashram system. That how, by having land, cultivating the land, using the bull, using the cow, getting milk, chanting Hare Krishna, one can actually be happy. This is the formula, this is the law. And if you deviate from it, no matter how scientifically advanced you are, no matter how much AI technology you create and how much scientific technology you create, there will be a vacuum in your heart. There will be something that's missing. There will be a void. We see even right now in the present time, If you look at America with all its material progress, yet today America has the largest rate of depression, of mental illness, people who are unhappy, suicide. So it's clear, a clear sign that there's an imbalance, that we have so much technology, so much advancement, so much materialism, that people should be happy. But yet the converse is true. People are more depressed, suffering. They're not happy. Why? Because the foundational principle of how to be happy is not cultured. And that is, start looking after the cows and the bulls. If they just simply stop eating cows and bulls, this will transform, this will change the destiny of this planet. Let us take it from the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam and adopt the principle for the total happiness of humanity. So here is Prabhupada's encouraging us. This is what we need to do. We need to take it from the authority of the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is making very clear. If you are inflicting pain on the cows and the bulls, you will never be happy. So we need to fight for this principle. We need to do whatever we can in our capacity to transform this, to protect the cows and the bulls. And we see Prabhupada did not go and start a movement to save cows and bulls. He did not do that. Does he want us to do that? Yes, but he didn't do that. Why? Because Prabhupada was strategic. Prabhupada was very intelligent. See, if he did that, he could have achieved success in saving cows and bulls. But when Srila Prabhupada would leave, then a new generation would come and it would go back to square one. So Prabhupada, understanding that I have to lay the foundation of wisdom, foundation of truth, our foundation of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada's first and foremost focus was books, giving the wisdom, writing books, so that people would read and people would get this wisdom, and it would lay the foundation of truth. And on that, those who are inspired now by different aspects of Krishna consciousness would take up the reins, take up the baton, then say, now we are going to support and protect the cows. And that would survive, that would sustain itself. Why? Because it is based on truth, it's based on knowledge. So Prabhupada was very intelligent. He knew what would survive if he left this world. It is the knowledge and wisdom that he gave us in the form of books, because we can keep printing the books and the books will survive generations. We see, even in modern circles, Think and Grow Rich, right? All these different books that motivational people read, they are compiled by people of the past generation, and yet they're still reading it even now. They're getting inspiration from that book even now. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jiva Goswami, all the acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, they could understand and appreciate that. So therefore, they also wrote many books so that we could get this wisdom and digest, apply this wisdom, and be able to then take this wisdom forward in the form of practical activity so that we can help the whole of humanity and adopt the principles for total happiness, just not little happiness, total happiness, complete happiness for the whole of humanity. Such a vast vision. So the glories of Gomata. Cow is always considered as holy and sacred. The womb of the cow is considered to be heaven, and the place where she stands is sacred. By worshipping the holy cow, one gets the grace of all 33 crores demigods and demigoddesses. And that's the reason why a cow is worshipped till today. Cow is also known as Kamadenu, the wishful mystical mother. The foam from the cow's milk is equal to Amrita. The cow is the ladder to climb to heaven. She can provide all happiness that one can think of from this world and the next world. By remembering the mother cow, one's consciousness gets refined. By affectionately rubbing, petting, stroking a cow, one gets recovered from incurable diseases. By protecting the cows, we are naturally protected. Just consider, the cow has 330 million demigods in there residing. So if you cause harm to the cow, you're basically causing harm to all the demigods, demigoddesses. So you're inflicting Dhammaparad. The cow is a sacred place. So you're causing so much pain. And the converse is true. If you protect and look after cows, then all the demigods are happy. And therefore you get the mercy of all the controlling deities. And therefore they bless. So it's so scientific, so logical. And Krishna's made this arrangement. Krishna's made this arrangement. And Krishna's he's a coward boy, so his special affection is for cows. 4. Papracharatam aruda kartaswara prachid parichadam megha gambiraya vacha samaro pita karmukha. Maj Parikshit, well equipped with arrows and bow, and seated on a gold embossed chariot, spoke to him, Sudra, with a deep voice, resounding like thunder. So here we see a beautiful picture of the Sudra dressed as a king, and Maj Parikshit is going to chastise Kali. So he meets Kali and speaks in a very deep voice. An administrative head or king like Maj Parikshit with full majestic authority, well equipped with weapons and well equipped with weapons to chastise miscreants, can challenge the agents of the age of Kali. Then only will it be possible to counteract the degraded age. So we need personalities like Maj Parikshit. We need a Mahabhagavat, a pure devotee, to take the lead as a ruler. And Prabhupada makes it very clear that, because the Mahabhagavat has the spiritual Shakti, and if he's a trained Kshatriya, then he has the power to protect. Both need to be there so that they can be control and direction. Because if you're going to get people who will deviate, people who are rogues and thieves, people who are not interested. So therefore you need the power, the military power, Kshatriya power, to bring them in line. If you transgress, we will sort you out. So that was the Vedic system. That's why Kshatriya kings like Yudhishthira Maj, Parikshit Maj, because they were totally spiritually aligned, and then with their power, they could direct and keep society in line. Because you're going to get those who will deviate. And in the absence of such strong executive heads, there is always disruption of tranquility. The elected show bottle executive heads as representative of a degraded public cannot be equal with a strong king like Maj Parikshit. the dress or style of royal order does not count. Okay, so it's not a question, oh, I got my royal cloak, and I'm a king and a queen, but I can't, even pick up a sword, and don't even know how to wield a sword. What's the use of that type of royalty? That's basically royalty externally, but Sudra-like mentality internally. So doesn't count. You are an agent of Kali. But someone who's Maj Parikshit, externally, there's royalty. He's driving in a chariot, that's golden chariot. But he's got weapons that he's very capable of using. He's got the spiritual culture of Krishna consciousness. It's a perfect combination for peace and prosperity. And that's who we need. If we have leaders like this, then there is peace. Otherwise, there will be chaos. If it is one's actions which are counted, right? So you may find leaders in position, they may be very eloquent, they may be dressed very, very opulently, but there is no Shakti in terms of action. They cannot act. So Maj Parikshit is not just a leader by name and fame or by popular vote. No, he's a leader that can act, a leader that can show and put people in their place. At the same time, he's not just a leader with force, but a leader with spiritual culture, a leader with Krishna conscious blessings, a leader that's a pure devotee of Krishna, who's got Krishna's favor from the time of his birth. So the devotional, loving aspect of Krishna consciousness and the protective, powerful Kshatriya aspect is there. And this becomes a beautiful, wonderful combination. Text 5. Kastwamak charane loke balad damsya balan bali naradevo sive shena nata vat karmana dvija. Oh, who are you? You appear to be strong, and yet you dare kill within my protection those who are helpless. By your dress, you pose yourself to be a man god, king, but by your deeds, you are opposing the principles of the twice-born Kshatriyas. So here we see Maj Parikshit's perspective. Firstly, I'm the king, and you are causing harm to those who are helpless. And for that, you need to be chastised. And then he's also seeing that you are dressed like a king, but your deeds show different. So that means position is not just about position, but it's about position and action. If you're in position, it should show through your actions. Otherwise, it's like you're filling a seat. And if you're filling a seat, what's the use, right? Or worse, you're filling a seat that is meant to be leading others, but then there's exploitation. So Kali is like that. He's dressed as a king who's meant to lead, who's meant to protect, but he's harming. And he's harming especially those who are innocent, those who cannot protect themselves. It's a different story if he's attacking Maj Parikshit. Oh, you are the king. Okay, let's have a battle. That is okay, because now you are challenging the rightful ruler of that place. But if you are causing pain to harmless creatures, well, then you need to be punished. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas are called twice born because for these higher classes of men, there is one birth by parental conjugation, and there is another birth by cultural rejuvenation, by spiritual initiation from the bona fide acharya or spiritual master. So a Kshatriya is also twice born like a Brahmana, and his duty is to give protection to the helpless. The Kshatriya king is considered to be a man god, or representative of God, for giving protection to the helpless and chastising the miscreants. Both need to be there. Whenever there are anomalies in the routine work of the administrators, there is an incarnation of the Lord to establish the principles of a godly kingdom. In the age of Kali, the poor helpless animals, especially the cows, which are meant to receive all sorts of protection from the administrative heads, are killed without restriction. Thus, the administrative heads under whose noses such things happen are representative of God in name only. Such powerful administrators are rulers of poor citizens by dress or of office, but factually they are worthless, lower class men without the cultural assets of the twice born. No one can expect justice or equality of treatment from once born, spiritually uncultured, lower class men. So now Prabhupada is also highlighting our expectation. We all want protection, peace, equality, justice from our leaders. But Prabhupada is making very clear, no one can expect justice or equality from rulers that are not twice born. And therefore, instead of moaning and groaning on something that you cannot change, it's more productive to put energy into improving the situation, either individually or collectively. Therefore, in the age of Kali, everyone is unhappy due to the maladministration of the state. The leaders of modern human society are not twice born by spiritual culture. Therefore, the people's government, administrated by people who are not twice born, must be a government of Kali, in which everyone is unhappy. So hopefully we can introduce a government of Krishna. Right now we are under the government of Kali. Government of Kali is visible with certain specific symptoms, like causing harm to innocent animals like cows and bulls. And a symptom of the government of Krishna has certain elements, or like Ram Rajya, the government of Lord Ram. Totally different culture, totally different result. Text 6. Yastam Krishna gate duram saha gandiva danvana sochyo sya sochan rahasi praharan vadam arhasi. You rogue, do you dare beat an innocent cow because Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the carrier of the Gandiva bow, are out of sight? Since you are beating the innocent in a secluded place, you are considered a culprit and therefore deserve to be killed. So Maharaj Parikshit is ready to kill Kali. So this is the duty of the king. He's meant to chastise. Oh no, it's okay. You can go home. No. You are causing harm to an innocent creature, innocent animal. You need to be killed. This is the Vedic system. You kill, you be killed. The death sentence was there. And with some, even if you harm, the death sentence was there. So that people in the society will know that if I do the same thing, that's the result. That's why they would generally, show the death sentence in front of everyone. So that becomes a lesson for everyone else. That if you do that, you're also going to, it's like in some Islamic states, you steal, your hands will get chopped off. So that becomes a natural deterrent. Don't steal, because if they catch you, your hands are off. So it's an important, just chastise him, because there will be people that will deviate. So Maharaj Parikshit did not even hesitate. He was ready to kill Kali. In a civilization where God is conspicuously banished, and there is no devotee warrior like Arjuna, the associates of the age of Kali take advantage of this lawless kingdom and arrange to kill innocent animals like cows in secluded slaughterhouses. Such murderers of animals tend to be condemned to death by the order of a pious king like Maharaj Parikshit. For a pious king, the culprit who kills an animal in a secluded place is punishable by death penalty, exactly like a murderer who kills an innocent child in a secluded place. So we have a long way to go for this to be restored. But now we are getting the lessons from Maharaj Parikshit. Culprits need to be dealt appropriately. 7. Tvambha vrinala dvala pader nyu napadacharan vrisha rupena kim kaschit devo na parikedayan. Then he, Maharaj Parikshit, asked the bull, "Oh, who are you? Are you a bull as white as a white lotus, or are you a demigod? You have lost 3 of your legs and are moving on only one. Are you some demigod in the form of a bull who are causing us to grieve?" At least up to the time of Maharaj Parikshit, no one could imagine the wretched condition of the cow and the bull. Maharaj Parikshit therefore was astonished to see such a terrible scene. He inquired whether the bull was not a demigod, assuming such a wretched condition to indicate the future of the cow and the bull. So in previous times, it was unheard of to see cows and bulls being harmed. It was just not the culture. Did not exist. If we see in this picture, we can see the cows and bulls, are they all happy with Krishna? Because they are protected. So there is no question of seeing tears coming from the cows. But when Maharaj Parikshit saw this, because Kali was penetrating, Kali was infiltrating, this was the symptom. This is the first symptom that becomes visible. And as Kali becomes more strong, it means there's an increase of this unfortunate situation. When Kali becomes weaker, then this is rectified. So glories of Gomata. Mother cow bestows all 4, Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha. The medicine made out of cow's urine have significant benefits. If someone hurts the cow, and he himself gets hurt. By protecting the cows, we are naturally protected. By cows' blessings, both this world and the next world gets improved. By mother cow's grace, impossible becomes possible. A cow have a unique power. If one delights them and keeps them convinced, then they give pleasure by all means and protects everyone. If one honestly cares for cows and protects them, then there will be no shortage of any resources for their upkeep and maintenance. Just do it wholeheartedly and you can see the results by yourself. One should understand that the bull are the father of the world and the cow are the mother of the world. And by worshipping them, all the ancestors and demigods get worshipped. It's also mentioned that before you rise, you should think, before you rise and when you go to bed, you should think of a cow. Very auspicious. Najatu Kauraven Dranam Dordanda Parirambit Pite Bhutalenu Patyantyasmin Vinate Parni Nam Sucha. Now for the first time in the kingdom, well protected by the arms of the kings of the Ku dynasty, I see you grieving with tears in your eyes. Up till now, no one on earth has ever shed tears because of royal negligence. So Maharaj Parikshit was ruling this planet very, very, very dutifully. Everyone was happy. But now the age of Kali was penetrating, was coming. Prabhupada's purport. The protection of the lives of both human beings and animals is the first and foremost duty of a government. So it's not just the citizens. Everyone that is born in the kingdom, Praja, they're like family to the government, to the king. They have to be protected. We see in Dwarka, every citizen, every animal was completely protected by Krishna. Krishna personally showed this example as a king. Lord Ramachandra, perfect example, showed how to protect. So this is the first and foremost duty of a government. A government must not discriminate in such principles. It is simply horrible for a pure-hearted soul to see organized animal killing by the state in this age of Kali. So for the pure devotees who are paradukha dukhi, when they see innocent animals suffering, this causes great pain to them. Maharaj Parikshit was lamenting for the tears in the eyes of the bull, and he was astonished to see such an unprecedented thing in his good kingdom. Man and animal were equally protected as far as life was concerned. That is the way in God's kingdom. So we need to establish this kingdom. We may never see it in our lifetime. And as Krishna conscious progresses, as more and more devotees take to Krishna consciousness, and we are able to gain more and more numbers, structure, resources, those who have the ability to govern, those who are trained as Kshatriyas, then this will unfold. The tides of Kali will change so that the golden age can really be established. So there is a long way. And no doubt the golden age is predicted. So we know that there's going to be a turning point over the generations to come. And those who are going to go through that generation, they'll be able to see they will be able to read Maharaj Parikshit's situation prior to his situation. They would see, oh yes, this was also happening 5,000 years ago, and now we have a transition, and then they'll see the result. And who was instrumental in this change hundreds and hundreds of years prior? Our Srila Prabhupada. So no doubt, as Prabhupada says, history will note that Srila Prabhupada has saved humanity in the darkest hour. Prabhupada is laying the foundation like no other. Prabhupada is transforming like no other. Prabhupada is guiding like no other. On all levels, not just young people, every age group, not just one gender, every gender, not just one race, every race, not just human beings, even animals. And not just giving them some material benefit, but actually giving them material benefit and the most glorious spiritual benefit, the most highest glorious spiritual benefit of pure love of Krishna. So no doubt, amazing service Prabhupada is rendering. Text 9. Maso Rabye yatra sucho vetu te vrishalad vayam marodir amba padram te kalilanam mai shastra shastari. O O son of Surabhi, you need lament no longer now. There is no need to fear this low caste Sudra. And, O mother cow, as long as I am living as the ruler and subduer of all envious men, there is no cause for you to cry. Everything will be good for you. So this is a true ruler. He's able to give protection and shelter. Not nowadays, the rulers, they send the army in front, they go under the bunker, they, go for protection. No, Maharaj Parikshit was a real, true spiritual ruler. Protection of bulls and cows and all other animals can be possible only when there is a state ruled by an executive head like Maharaj Parikshit. So for the kings, for the rulers, for the government, Maharaj Parikshit is the example. They need to read about him. Maharaj Parikshit addresses the cows. Maharaj Parikshit addresses the cow as mother, for he is cultured, for he is born Kshatriya king. See, he's groomed in that culture. So if you get an uncultured king, well, what's the consequence? Uncultured society. But if you get a cultured ruler, you're going to get cultured society. Surabhi is the name of the cows which exist in the spiritual planet and especially reared by Lord Krishna himself. As men are made after the form of and features of the Supreme Lord, so also the cows are made after the form and features of Surabhi cows in the spiritual kingdom. In the material world, the human society gives all protection to human beings, but there is no law to protect the descendants of Surabhi, who can give all protection to men by supplying the miracle food milk. But Maharaj Parikshit and the Pandavas were fully conscious of the importance of the cow and the bull, and they were prepared to punish the cow killer with all chastisement, including death. There has sometimes been agitation for the protection of cow, but for the want of pious executive heads and suitable laws, the cow and the bulls are not given protection. The human society should recognize the importance of the cow and the bull and give all protection to these important animals, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit. For protecting the cow in the Brahmanical culture, the Lord, who is very kind to the cows and the Brahmanas, Go Brahmana Hitaya, will be pleased with us and will bestow upon us real peace. So by looking after the protecting cows and bulls, Krishna will most definitely be pleased. There is no doubt about that. Glories of Gomata. According to Govapanishad, one should see, offer obeisances to, and circumambulate the cow. By doing so, one is supposed to have circumambulated the entire earth with its 7 islands. The cow is the mother of all. She gives happiness to everyone. Most people who desire prosperity should daily circumambulate the cow. A person, this is from Padma Puran, a person who daily touches a cow after taking bath becomes liberated from all sinful reactions. Those who smear themselves with the dust from the hooves of the cow are said to have taken bath in all holy places. Such people become freed from all types of sin. The Agni Puran says that a cow is a pure, auspicious animal. Looking after a cow, bathing it, making it eat and drink are commendable acts. Cow dung and urine are said medicinal properties. Milk, curd, butter, and ghee are all used in religious ceremonies. Whoever offers a morsel of food to the cow before eating attains salvation. Whoever gives a cow in charity benefits the whole family. Wherever a cow lives, the place becomes pure. The touch and care of cows absolves ones of sins. In the Agni Puran also it is stated, to care and to bathe the cow is like cleansing oneself, one's sinful reactions. text 10 to 11. Yasya rashtre praja sarvash trasyante sadvya asadubi tasya mattasya nashanti tir ahur bhagogati esha rajnam paro dharmo ya yartanam atrinirgraha ata enam padishyami bhuta druham asattamam. O chaste one, the king's good name, duration of life, and good rebirth vanish when all kinds of living beings are terrified by miscreants in his kingdom. It is certainly the prime duty of the king to subdue first the suffering of those who suffer. Therefore, I must kill this most wretched man because he is violent against other living beings. So the culture of a king is to protect. And here we see Maharaj Parikshit motivating, validating why he should kill this Sudra. When there is some disturbance caused by wild animals in a village or town, the police or others take action to kill them. Similarly, it is a duty of the government to kill at once bad social elements such as thieves, dacoits, and murderers. So if we look at current government, these elements are increasing. Why? Because they are not treated according to this culture. The same punishment is also due to animal killers because animals of the state are also called praja. Praja means one who has taken birth in the state, and this includes both men and animals. Any living being who has taken birth in a state has the primary right to live under the protection of the king. The jungle animals are also subject to the king, and they also have a right to live. So what to speak of domestic animals like the cows and the bulls? So here Prabhupada is encouraging us again, domestic animals. In today's world, the domestic animals are dogs, cats. So here, cows and bulls are also domestic. They're not wild animals. Any living being, if he terrifies other living beings, is a most wretched subject. And the king should at once kill such a disturbing element. As the wild animal is killed when it creates disturbance, similarly, any man who unnecessarily kills or terrifies the jungle animals or other animals must be punished at once. Okay, so as soon as you leave, as soon as you give it some breathing space, they will increase. So there's no mercy. In fact, that is mercy. By doing this, you're actually showing mercy. By the law of the Supreme Lord, all living beings, in whatever shape they may be, are sons of the Lord, and no one has any right to kill another animal unless it is so ordered by the codes of the law, of natural law. The tiger can kill a lower animal for its subsistence, but a man cannot kill an animal for his subsistence. That is the law of God, who has created the law that a living being subsists on eating another living being. Thus, the vegetarians are also living by eating other living beings. Therefore, the law is that one should live only by eating specific living beings as ordained by the law of God. The Ishopanishad directs that one should live by the direction of the Lord and not at one's sweet will. A man can subsist on a variety of grains, fruits, and milk ordained by God, and there is no need of animal food, save and except in particular cases. The illusioned king or executive head, even though sometimes advertised as a great philosopher and learned scholar, will allow slaughterhouses in a state without knowing that torturing poor animals clears the way to hell for such a foolish king or executive head. The executive head must always be alert to the safety of the prajas, both men and animal, and inquire whether a particular living being is harassed at any place by another living being. The harassing living being must at once be caught and put to death, as shown by March Parikshit. The people's government, or government by people, should not allow killing of innocent animals by the sweet will of foolish government men. They must know that the codes of God, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, March Parikshit quotes here that according to the codes of God, the irresponsible king or state executive jeopardizes his good name, duration of life, power, and strength, and ultimately his progressive march towards a better life and salvation after death. Such foolish men do not even believe in the existence of next life. While commenting on this particular verse, we have in our presence the statement of a great modern politician who has recently died and left his will, which discloses his poor fund of knowledge of the codes of God, mentioned by March Parikshit. The politician was so ignorant of the codes of God that he writes, quote, "I do not believe in any such ceremonies and to submit to them, even as a matter of form, would be hypocrisy and an attempt to delude ourselves and others. I have no religious sentiment in this matter," unquote. So this is Nehru. Prabhupada did not appreciate him because he had no spiritual culture. And this is what he left in his will. He doesn't believe in any of the ceremonies. Contrasting these statements of a great politician in the modern age with those of March Parikshit, we find a vast difference. March Parikshit was pious according to scriptural codes, whereas the modern politicians go by his personal belief and sentiments. Any great man of the material world is, after all, a conditioned soul. He is bound by his hands and feet by the ropes of material nature, and still the foolish conditioned soul thinks of himself as free to act by his whimsical sentiments. Conclusion is that in the time of March Parikshit, they were happy, and the animals were given proper protection because of the executive head was not whimsical or ignorant of God's laws. Foolish, faithless creatures try to avoid the existence of the Lord and proclaim themselves secular at the cost of valuable human life. Human life is especially meant for knowing the science of God, but foolish creatures, especially in this age of Kali, instead of knowing God scientifically, make propaganda against religious beliefs as well as the existence of God, even though they are always bound by the laws of God, by the symptoms of birth, death, old age, and disease. So if somebody says, "I don't believe in God," oh, really? Then are you bound by birth, death, disease, and old age? Oh, yeah. So who made those laws for you to be bound by birth, death, old age, and disease? Because if you can't get freed from them, then somebody who's very powerful has made the laws for you to be bound by these things which you don't want and you cannot change. That means you have to accept there's someone who is controlling and influencing you to experience birth, death, disease, and old age. 12. Ko vrish chat tava padam string so rabye chatuspada mabhumam twadrisharastre rajnam krishnanuvartitam. He, March Parikshit, repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull thus: "O son of Surabhi, who has cut off your 3 legs? In the state of the king, who are obedient to the law of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you." The king or the executive heads of all states must know the codes of Lord Krishna, generally Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and must act accordingly in order to fulfill the mission of human life, which is to make an end to all miseries of material conditions. So if you want to become an executive head, if you want to become a ruler, you have to study Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That is like the basic preliminary study for you to perform your role nicely. And that's why Prabhupada is putting, you see, Prabhupada is visionary. He's putting all this Because somebody will say, well, I'm not a king, I'm not a ruler, I'm not a president. This is irrelevant for me. No, it's not irrelevant. Prabhupada is laying the foundation for those who will, for devotees that will have this as their service. So Prabhupada is laying the foundation for them. And we are associating with Srimad Bhagavatam through the life of Maharaj Parikshit, who was a pure devotee of Krishna. Because hearing about Krishna and hearing about the pure devotees of Krishna are not different. It is all related to pure devotion to Krishna and Krishna consciousness. One who knows the codes of Lord Krishna can achieve this end without any difficulty. In the Bhagavad Gita, we can understand the codes of Godhead in a synopsis. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, the same codes are explained further. In a state where the codes of Krishna are followed, no one in the state where the codes of Krishna are followed, no one is unhappy. Whereas where such codes are not followed, the first sign is that 3 legs of the representative religion are cut off, and thereby all miseries follow. When Krishna was personally present, the code of Krishna would be followed without question. But in his absence, such code are being presented in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam for the guidance of the blind persons who happen to be at the helm of all affairs. 13. Akyahi vrishabhadram va sadhunam akrita gasham atma verupya kartanam parthanam kirtistu shanam. O bull, you are offenseless and thoroughly honest. Therefore, I wish all good to you. Please tell me who is the perpetrator of these mutilations which blackmail the reputation of the sons of Pritha. So now Maharaj Parikshit is also giving us another reason why he has to do what he has to do, because of his reputation and the reputation of his lineage. The reputation of the reign of Maharaj Ramchandra and of the reigns of the kings who followed in the footsteps of Maharaj Ramchandra, like the Pandavas and their descendants, are never to be forgotten, because in their kingdom, offenseless and honest living beings were never in trouble. The bull and the cow are symbols of the most offenseless living beings, because even the stool and urine of these animals are utilized to benefit human society. The descendants of the son of Pritha, like Maharaj Parikshit, were afraid of losing their reputations. But in the modern days, the leaders are not even afraid of killing such offenseless animals. Herein lies the difference between the reign of the pious kings and the modern state rulers by irresponsible executive heads without knowledge of the codes of God. So we see all religious Kshatriyas coming in the line of the Surya dynasty or the Chandra dynasty. We see they would, to uphold the tradition, the reputation of their forefathers was very, very important. It's like in the Raghu dynasty, Lord Ramachandra would say, life can go, but promise has to be kept. We can give up our life, but we will never give up our promise. This was like the culture that was coming down in the Raghu dynasty. So once they gave a promise, they would uphold that without breaking it, even at the cost of death. So they would always make sure that they seek the blessings of the previous Kshatriyas, previous kings, who were great pure devotees, exalted rulers, and they would want to maintain the culture that they handed down. Completely different from today's type of government structure. There's no, as Prabhupada says, no proper training, no proper guidance, and no spiritual initiation, and no proper example, no tradition, no training in warfare. So we really have Sudras running the government. And if you have Sudras running the government, well, there's going to be chaos. There's going to be no happiness. This is the result. 14. Jane nagyasa agam yunjan sarvato shyacha madpayan sadhunam badram evasyad asadu dhammane krite. Whoever causes offenseless living beings to suffer must fear me anywhere and everywhere in this world. By curbing dishonest miscreants, one automatically benefits the offenseless. So, Maharaj Parikshit was ruling the planet. And anywhere where this was going on, he was ready to chastise them. Dishonest miscreants flourish because of cowardly and impotent executive heads of the state. But when the executive heads are strong enough to curb all sorts of dishonest miscreants in any part of the state, certainly they cannot flourish. When the miscreants are punished in an exemplary manner, automatically all good fortune follows. As said before, it is a prime duty of the king or the executive head to give protection in all respects to the peaceful and offenseless citizens of the state. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful and offenseless, and therefore it is a prime duty of the state to arrange to convert everyone to become a devotee of the Lord. Thus, automatically all citizens will be peaceful and offenseless. Then the only duty of the king will be to curb dishonest miscreants. That will bring about peace and harmony all over human society. So now Prabhupada is directing those who will take up this lead as government leaders to say, yes, we need to protect the citizens, we need to protect the innocent animals, and we also have to help them become devotees, because devotees are automatically peaceful and offenseless. So if we make everyone devotees, then automatically there is peace and harmony in society, because the devotees will not harm innocent animals. The devotees will not harm people. The devotees want to benefit everyone. So in this way, if we make devotees, his job as a leader is easier. So Prabhupada is hinting and giving direction to these leaders. 15. Anagasva swiha bhuteshu ya agaskrin nirang usha ahar tasmi bujam shakshad amart yasyapi sangadam. Any upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. So this was the powerful warriors of Vedic times. Nothing would stop them. They were trained. They knew all the tactics of warfare, mantra power, etc. So they were powerful, both from a military warfare as a Kshatriya, from a potency, from a spiritual side, they were all-rounded. The denizens of heavenly kingdom are called Amara, or deathless, due to their possessing a long span of life far greater than that of human beings. For a human being who has only a maximum of 100 duration of life, a span of life spreading over hundreds of millions of years is certainly considered to be deathless. For example, from the Bhagavad Gita, we learn that on the Brahmaloka planet, the duration of 1 day is calculated to be 4,300,000 years times 1,000 solar years. Similarly, in the other heavenly planets, 1 day is calculated to be 6 months on this planet. And the inhabitants get a life of 100 million of their years. Therefore, in all higher planets, since the lifespan is far greater than that of human beings, the denizens are called deathless by imagination. Although actually no one within this material universe is deathless. Maharaj Parikshit challenges even such denizens of heaven if they torture the offenseless, this means that the state executive head must be as strong as Maharaj Parikshit, so that they may be determined to punish the strongest offenders. It should be the principle of a state executive head that the offender of the codes of God is always punished. So now Prabhupada is giving the next hint to such a devotee that will take up this role. You can't just be, weak and flimsy. Nope. You have to be as strong as Maharaj Parikshit. So you can see, if I have to put myself in such a situation, I'm already disqualified in many ways to be a leader, like a warrior, right? A Kshatriya, government man. But over generations and culture in Krishna consciousness, as the time progresses, devotee family raising children, children becoming devotees, they become devotees, they have children. Is slowly, as the culture of Krishna consciousness permeate over one generation to the next, then because the culture and the tradition is now becoming implanted again, then the potency, the purity, the strength, the mercy, the knowledge, all this comes in with the culture, with the tradition, with the mercy, with the flow of the as the generation progresses. And one day, no doubt, there will be someone who follows in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit, who is as strong as Maharaj Parikshit, who is a pure devotee of Mahabharata Bhagavat, who is now able to read these verses of Prabhupada and just be inspired to say, yes, that's my service, and I will start. And immediately he will take the reins, right, to make sure that every offender of the code of God is punished. Slowly, in this way, the golden age becomes established all over the planet. 16. Rajnohi paramo dharmam swadharmam stanupalanam shastonyan yatha shastram anapadyu pathan iha. The supreme duty of the ruling king, is to give all protection to the law-abiding persons and to chastise those who stray from the ordinance of scriptures in ordinary times when there is no emergency. So when there's an emergency, it's a different scenario. But if there's no emergency, then it's very clear. Those who abide by scripture are protected. Those who don't, eliminate, destroy, kill. So in this way, you're actually protecting, and it's like having a garden. You're protecting those who you meant to protect. It's like having a garden, and in a garden, if you see a weed, oh shame, no, it's okay, it's also a plant, no, let it grow. No, a weed needs to be uprooted, full stop. No mercy. That's how you show mercy to a weed. You uproot. And you show mercy to a plant by nurturing it, watering it, make sure the sun, etc. Right? So that's a king. He has to see, okay, this needs to be uprooted, because if you leave the weed, and we're going to see this, right? Because Kali is very intelligent. So we're going to see what Kali does. And Kali is going to take advantage of the protective nature of Maharaj Parikshit. So if you leave that weed within the garden, it's going to grow, because the weeds grow faster. They don't require nutrients and care like a normal plant. In fact, for them, the plants is their food. They're like parasitic. So they grow faster. That's why they can take over your whole garden. And all you'll find is weeds. So you have to uproot. Now this weed of Kali is very intelligent. He's going to do something that's going to allow him to stay in the garden of Maharaj Parikshit. And Maharaj Parikshit is brilliant, he's intelligent. He cannot avoid, or he cannot deny the request of Kali, but at the same time, he's going to do something very intelligent. So we'll get there. Let us continue. In the scriptures, there is a mention of apad dharma, or occupational duty at times of extraordinary happenings. It is said that sometimes the great sage Vishwamitra had to live on the flesh of dogs in some extraordinary dangerous position. In cases of emergency, one may be allowed to live on the flesh of animals of all description, but that does not mean that there should be regular slaughterhouses to feed the animal eaters, and that this system should be encouraged by the state. No one should try to live on flesh in ordinary times simply for the sake of the palate. If anyone does so, the king or the executive heads should punish him for gross enjoyment. There are regular scriptural injunctions for different persons engaged in different occupational duties, and one who follows them is called swadharmasta, or faithful in one's prescribed duties. In the Bhagavad Gita 1848, it is advised that one should not give up his occupational prescribed duties, even if they are not always flawless. Such swadharma might be violated in cases of emergencies, if one is forced by circumstances, but they cannot be violated in ordinary times. State executive head is to see that such swadharma is not changed by the followers, whatever it may be, and he should give all protection to the followers of swadharma. The violators is subject to punishment in terms of the Shastra, and the duty of the king is to see that everyone strictly follows his occupational duty as prescribed in the scriptures. So now Prabhupada is directing and giving another instruction to such a leader, devotee leader, who will take up the role, is that the state executive head is to see that such swadharma is not changed by the followers. So when ruling, there's different circumstances, and there can be a circumstance that's out of the ordinary, that's an emergency. And in an emergency situation, what you do in that situation will be different from a normal situation. So here in a normal situation, just like Prabhupada would, when he's speaking to people who are also eating meat, Prabhupada says, but it's not like there's no fruit and vegetables. You can buy there's so much ample fruit and vegetables, grains, etc. So why are you killing innocent animals? If there's nothing, if there's no fruits and vegetables, now it's a different story. But that's not the situation. That's not the case. So therefore, there is no excuse. And thus ends this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, glorifying Gomata, glorifying Maharaj Parikshit's amazing rulership, propensities and abilities. And we can take great inspiration of Srila Prabhupada's expertise in presenting Krishna consciousness and his books in such an amazing way that benefits all the different ashrams, varnas and ashrams. At the same time, those who are not in that situation can still get purified by the pastime of Maharaj Parikshit, who's a great pure devotee of the Lord. And we can take pleasure in seeing how much Parikshit as a devotee is protecting. Why? Because he's seeing everyone in relation to Krishna, part and parcel of Krishna. He is acting on the platform of pure devotional service. Karantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Mata ki jai, Go Pita ki jai, Itai, Go Pramanande, Hari Hari. Go. Are there any questions or comments, reflections, feedback anyone has? Madri gave a feedback. She says, Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. Amavati Radhika says, wonderful class, all glories to Gomata, all glories to Maharaj Parikshit, Srila Prabhupada's exemplary purports ki jai. Thank you very much, Prabhu. We're grateful, Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you very much for your wonderful feedback. Amavati, Vadika, Shamananda Prabhu said, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Really amazing info on the cows and bulls and their elevated positions. These pastimes on March Parikshit from Srimad Bhagavatam are wonderful and filled with lessons and instructions for us to learn and apply, which Srila Prabhupada is further elaborating on and giving the template to follow when the times come. Thank you for explaining that we don't have a March Parikshit currently, and for now we have to wait it out. And time will come when things turn around inside and outside our movement, and all will be in order, and Srila Prabhupada will be rightfully credited with making this possible. Yes. Every situation we are placed in individually is perfect for us. We may want the best, but the best situation that we need to be in, Krishna has made arrangements. It's interesting how I was contemplating, we see Kali, as soon as Krishna leaves this planet, Kali starts. Kali is, so, okay, let me rephrase that. It's not that Kali was not present and available when Krishna was there. Kali was waiting. And Kali could not do anything because Krishna's presence was there. Just like when there's light, there cannot be any darkness. As soon as Krishna leaves this planet, no doubt, like Prabhupada often says in his purports, when a great Acharya, when Krishna leaves, then that potency, that mercy is leaving. So negative influences will take advantage. So as soon as Krishna left, we see Kali started taking advantage. Aha! Now I can take advantage. And we see how Kali is now penetrating and already impacting the cows and bulls. So even the same situation when Srila Prabhupada was leaving this planet, it wasn't that Kali was resting and saying, okay, I don't have any job, I'll just relax. No. Kali was preparing and making arrangements. And we see that as soon as Prabhupada leaves, so many things over the last 50 years, which from a spiritual perspective, we would think, how can it be? How can you have these elements in a spiritual society? Right? How can you have the abusive type of behavior, right, by those who are meant to be devotional? How can you have the exploitative side of those who are meant to be devotional? How can you have exploitation of resources, abuse of individuals, where you would think a normal materialistic human being would not even inflict such pain to, let's say, innocent children, etc. In terms of child abuse and exploitation and of all levels. And you would think, how is that possible in a spiritual society like what Srila Prabhupada established? Well, very simple. Because Kali is doing that. Agents of Kali. Kali's penetration. So as soon as Prabhupada left, Kali took hold. Kali is basically penetrated as wide and far as he could. And those who are like March Parikshit, those who are sincere, those who are dedicated, those who are fixed will not be influenced by Kali. They will attack Kali. So therefore we see that those who are sincerely following Srila Prabhupada's instructions, those who are sincerely practicing Krishna consciousness, who do not want to be influenced by the agents of Kali or by the mentality of the age of Kali, they will continue to fight against those elements. And eventually, every or most elements that of and symptoms of Kali that has infiltrated even in a spiritual society like the Hare Krishna movement will be kicked out, will be treated. Because you cannot survive when the strength of Krishna consciousness rises, the agents of Kali cannot prevail. Yes, they'll prevail. They have prevailed for time in different ways, in different situations. But Prabhupada has laid a foundation that is so solid that even Kali, who's trying to break it and crack it and destroy it, cannot destroy it. And that's why we see, Srila Prabhupada following the instructions of his spiritual master has laid such a powerful, strong foundation that from every aspect, Kali may have tried his best to destroy it. And the society have gone through so many cycles and visibility of those effects of Kali, but still coming out stronger and stronger and stronger over time. And eventually, Kali will say, oh, looks like I better run now. And eventually, Kali will not even be able to put a foot into the movement that Srila Prabhupada established because of the purity. Because remember, it's a certain, it's like, for example, a bat. So if I have a bat, I think it's a bat, maybe anyway. So if I bring light in front of a bat, no, bat may not be a good example. Okay, there may be an animal or an entity that just does not like a spiritual or vibrant or positive environment. Right? It's like if you take me in a disco, although I've never been to a disco, I heard about a disco, but if you take me into a disco and I heard it's like dark, and so just that nature, just that environment is repulsive for me. It's like I don't like to be there. But if you say, okay, let's go to the temple, it resonates. So according to the frequency, I will not be able to stay in an environment that does not resonate with my frequency. So when everyone raises their frequency to a higher level of Krishna consciousness, then the lower frequencies cannot stay. So therefore, that's why Kali could not be present or stay where Krishna was, because Krishna's frequency was absolutely pure. And Kali's frequency is like absolutely negative, or as negative as possible. And therefore, cannot present. So the both cannot be at the same time. But when there's weak spiritual vibration, that's when Kali can penetrate, Kali can take advantage. So yes, there will be a time when all the elements that we see as unwanted, as abusive, as exploitative, as Kali's agents, Kali's symptoms, and like we're thinking, why is that currently in the society? No, we shouldn't be thinking why it's there. It's Kali's influence. We should be thinking, okay, I don't want to be in that, I don't want to do that, but I want to be stronger. I want to, I want to add to the positive vibration. Just like they say, be the change, right? You want to see, right? So we should see, okay, how can I improve the situation? Very simple. You just become more Krishna conscious, become more stronger in your Krishna, chant more pure rounds, serve more purely. And in this way, by you doing that, you are adding to the positive spiritual vibration so that Kali is becoming weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. And eventually, Kali says, I have to leave, to banish myself. This environment is becoming toxic for me. And this is how we can help the environment. So one time, Guru Kripa Prabhu, he was actually preaching, I think it was in China, and he started preaching then. It was too difficult. So eventually, and then he tried, so much resource, it just didn't work. People were not interested. So then his center didn't work, so he closed the center down. So when he met Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, what happened? And he said, well, Prabhupada, nobody was coming. It was very difficult. The environment just, not favorable. So Prabhupada said, no. You go back, you open up a center and you sit and chant. You open up an office and you sit and chant. Even if nobody's coming, it's okay. You sit and chant. Because why? You're starting to create the vibration. And that vibration of you just sitting and chanting will reverberate and start impacting and start influencing. So this is the power. And we see even, we find in the glories of the Gita Mahatmya, where the devotees just chanting the different chapters of Bhagavad Gita, even just the one chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and that influences the whole forest, that all the animals in that forest, they lose their animosity. We see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu going to Jharakanda forest and chanting Hare Krishna. And as he's chanting Hare Krishna, he's influencing by his purity, by his vibration, he's impacting the influence of animals, that they giving up their animal propensity. So that's how we can become agents of change, even though we may not be able to directly influence that which we want to influence or we're concerned about, because it's not in our circle of influence, but it may be in our circle of concern. So we're concerned about it, we cannot influence it. So how do we influence it? Simply by us becoming Krishna conscious. We will be able to influence. So thank you very much, Shyamananda Prabhu, for that feedback. Mother Les says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the very thought-provoking Krishna Katha. Kindly clarify how interspecies communication between humans and other species is possible. Is this a mystic science and ability that was available in previous age? How was conversation between the cow and the bull understood and then subsequently written down in Sanskrit in Bhagavatam? Interesting perspective. I never even thought of that. I didn't even think of it. Okay, how is Maharaj speaking to the bull and the cow, and the cow is the bull and the cow responding back? I didn't even think of that. But yes, that's true. Somebody will ask, right? Like, how can you? So one time, Srila Prabhupada was sitting in a room in Vrindavan, and he was in his room, and in Vrindavan they have shutters, like they close the shutters, and they have a net that's on the window. So Prabhupada was sitting, and there was a monkey in Vrindavan. We know monkeys are very famous. So the monkey was there, and the monkey was holding on the net and like shaking. So Prabhupada spoke to the monkey in monkey language, and one of Prabhupada's disciples was coming. Mother Yamuna, I think, was coming, and she was she noticed this conversation, so she stood there and was witnessing this. And then what she found was that the monkey very quietly left and never came back. So then she was amused. So she came to Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, what was that? So Prabhupada said, no, I was just telling the monkey, stop making disturbance, please go. So she was saying, Prabhupada, she was speaking like in this monkey language. Prabhupada says, yes. So Krishna can speak in every language of every species. So Krishna can speak in every language of every species. Prabhupada was able to speak, and possibly other languages that Krishna would want him to speak and communicate. So yes, pure devotees can speak to other animals. They have that ability. Krishna has the ability, and because Krishna has ability, the pure devotees have that ability. They can speak in the language. And in fact, I was reading, so the cows, just trying to remember, the cows had the ability to speak and also foretell incidents, events that would, so they're very good at sensing negative events, right? They have a sixth sense. So there's examples given. For example, when the tsunami, 2004, when the tsunami was happening, the cows in that area, district, they became very agitated, very disturbed before the tsunami, right? When there was an earthquake in India, the Goshalas in that area where the earthquake was about to come, the cows were already predicting the event by mooing and going around, and it's like you could see they're disturbed. So they're giving signs. So it's explained that previously the cows, they could speak and they could then tell. So Krishna made arrangements that no, now you're disturbing the destiny of what's meant to come. Right? So then they became dumb. They could just moo, chant the holy name now. Don't speak, just chant Hare Krishna, just chant the holy name. So then they were chanting Om reverse. Moo. They're the only animals that chant the holy name. They chant Om in reverse. So yes, animals can speak, animals can communicate, and human beings who have a higher level of consciousness, purity, can also speak and communicate to animals. This was there. We find in the pastime of Lord Chaitanya, his associates, Rasikanandan, could initiate animals. He initiated tigers, lions, and the elephants, and the elephants could respond and reciprocate. So yes, when you raise consciousness, you can tap into higher aspects of communication. So that is there. As you lower consciousness, you basically find that the reverse happens. So I hope that shed a little on that point. They can communicate. Shama says, thank you very much, Prabhu, for the excellent class. Thanks for clarifying. Yes, thank you, Mother Lesh. All right, very much, very good. Thank you very much for all the devotees' feedback. We will continue next week with see how much Parikshit handles the situation. We're going to be hearing now because he could see what was going on. He can see the consequence of what Kali was doing. And now we're going to see how Dharma, the bull, responds. And the response is going to be very, very instructive for us in our situation of when events occurs that is not very favorable to our expectation, how we should respond. Thank you. Kuntaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gokunda Hari Hari.